doing great. Thanks for having me here, Ralph.
Do you think that maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm 38 years old. This is in April of 2006. I was born in 1967 in Long Island, New York, born and raised. And in 1990, I got into the automobile business. That's the same business my father was in. So I worked my way up, starting with from sales into finance manager, then sales manager, and general sales manager, and then eventually general manager. And over that 14-year period, learned a lot about marketing as it attains to the automobile business. And then in 2002, I got into online marketing. I stumbled across it and then started learning as much as I could, and started building an email list by using a great autoresponder service to capture names and drive traffic to pages where the call to action was to get the name and the email address. And that started taking off so well that 2 years later, in August of 2004, I was able to leave the car business and go full-time online. And it was online for about 3 years. I started to brand my own style of marketing, known as butterfly marketing, and I launched that home study course 31st of 2006. And that course, we originally had 1,500 of them, and we sold all 1,500 units at $1,000 in 25 days, and that brought in $1.5 million in about 25 days. And what butterfly marketing is, it's based on the theory of the chaos theory, known as the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect states that the single flapping of a butterfly's wings produces tiny changes in the atmosphere that can dramatically affect the future outcome of compared to what it would have been had the butterfly not flapped its wings. So basically, anything that goes on, whether you're waving your hand or a car driving by or you simply walking through, produces tiny changes in the atmosphere that makes it very difficult to predict weather. Past 5 newscasts will only give you a 5-day forecast. So many little butterfly effects going on that we can't measure or predict accurately what's going to happen after 5 days. And recently you've seen movies like The Butterfly Effect, where they would go back in time and just say one word different, and then the next thing you know, he'd come back to present day, and there'd be a completely different outcome on the way the world was. And you also saw things like that in the movie Back to the Future or It's a Wonderful Life and things like that. And so I was always fascinated by that butterfly effect, and always looked back in my life and said things like, wow, if I didn't get stuck at that traffic light, I wouldn't have walked into the hotel room at that point and met so-and-so in the elevator. And then you look at when you met that person in the elevator, what a dramatic effect it had on your future, and everything that happened after that was a ripple effect. So I started looking at that into marketing, and I coined the phrase butterfly marketing, which means that there are small changes that you can do, seemingly insignificant changes that you can do into your marketing that will have dramatic effects on your outcome in the future, good or bad. You do some small mistakes and you can have dramatic disaster. And if you do some small things right, you can have an incredible success. And so, just to give you some examples, it took me about 1.5 years when I first started building a list to get to 40,000 opt-in members, which is pretty good. But in the 1.5 years after that, I was able to get 200,000 opt-in members when I started putting these butterfly effects into my marketing.
Boy, that's amazing. That is just truly amazing. I know that in looking at your program, it's just one of the most impressive that I've ever seen, and it's geared to help people generate income. I've been to so many different conferences, and so many people have spent so much money and never generated even 1 cent of income. It's kind of pathetic when people are out there selling stuff that doesn't work. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, and what I see that as, Ralph, is I see that there's an abundance of information out there, and the problem is that I think is that people, they don't know how to bridge the gap. Those that are having problems getting success, they don't know how to bridge the gap from knowing to doing. And that was one of the things I wanted to do with butterfly marketing, was not only tell you or show you what to do, but I wanted to tell you how to do it and provide you the tools to do it in a step-by-step format. So the type of marketing that I like, I don't like generic 101 marketing that tells you things like, you need to set up an autoresponder, and et cetera, and then you need to go to Google and learn about Google AdWords, and then you can put AdSense on your sites, and that's all, that's a general overview type of course, and the way that I like to make my projects is giving down and dirty case studies, as you saw in Butterfly Marketing, by saying, when I changed this, this in my one-time offer, my percentage on the conversion went from 3.5 to 4.5, things like that. So I like to give case studies and give examples of the success that I had, rather than just talking in theories and things like that.
Well, I really appreciate your perspective of all for one and one for all, that nobody gets left behind, the people that invest in your program through the forums and through your training and your special bonuses, that you're going to help everybody be successful if they just apply what you teach them.
Yeah, that was our motto in our private members forum for Butterfly Marketing, was to let everybody know that no one would be left behind, and and if we left anybody behind, then we didn't accomplish our goals. We wanted immediately to let everybody know that our attitude was all for one, and make sure that everybody that bought the package would have the success they wanted when they hit that order button.
Boy, that's great. Well, what is the worthy ideal you're pursuing with honesty and integrity in your life?
Well, Stephen Covey says to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. So, when I was in the car business, my frame of what I wanted in life was to become a general manager, but I didn't realize how miserable I was working 28 days a month and almost 70 hours a week, and constantly working on my day off, and my cell phone always ringing. And I thought I had achieved the success because I didn't think outside the frame. I determined my own success based on what I knew. And getting into online marketing really allowed me to take that whole whiteboard approach and erase everything that I thought I wanted and clearly define the goals that I wanted in life. And that really is to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. So I want to live a better life. I want to, have a great relationship. I want to continue to learn and continue to grow. And then finally, to leave a legacy is to be able to pass that experience on to other people. And that's the phase that I'm in right now, is trying to teach people, not just how to make money, but also to have all those things that we just mentioned.
Well, what do you want out of life in 10 words or less?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I want to live in 10 words or less.
You can have a few more.
Okay, I want to live a long, healthy life, and I want to change lives. As I said, I want to leave a legacy. I don't want to just be something 1,000 years from now, where you're not even a mark anywhere, even in a record book. I want to put a nice legacy on this world, and really change lives, and leave a pattern that can be duplicated for centuries to come.
What is the dream or vision that sets the course of your life?
The dream that sets the course?
Yeah.
I would probably say the power of positive thinking, trying to keep all the negative poisons out of my mind, and if Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can achieve, it can conceive, and I'm a big believer in that. I believe that what you dwell on, the things that you dwell on, you're gonna pull into your life, and I think that the mind cannot distinguish the difference between imagination and reality. So that's why the mind doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking and past memory. So if you can envision something and not just set a goal that says I want to make $1 million, but actually envision the lifestyle that you have with that, and what you'll be wearing, and what it will smell like, and what your house will be like, and what it's like to drive that car, and what it's like to be with the person that you love. If you can truly envision that in your mind, I believe that you will actually attract that into your life very quickly.
Well, how important is it to stay focused on your primary goal?
Well, staying focused, that was something we've been talking about a lot lately, and I'm going to give credit to a very good friend of mine, Stephen Pierce. I'm going to give an example that I saw him talk about in Australia, and basically what Stephen says is imagine if a young child that you knew very well, and you were standing at your garage, maybe at a barbecue, and in the street was a young child, maybe playing with marbles or something, right at the corner of the driveway on the street, and between you and the child was several of your friends and relatives holding a drink in their hand, and behind them was a wagon wheel and a big wheel and a bicycle and other kids playing and things like that. And you noticed up at the top of the hill that somebody just parked their car and didn't put it in park and didn't put the emergency brake on, and it was very slowly rolling down the hill towards this young girl. So I'll ask you that question, Ralph. If you saw that car coming towards the girl and you had all these people in front of you, but you knew you had to get to this child, what would you do?
I would do what you would do, Mike. I would do anything it took to get to that girl before the car got there.
Anything it took, right? But what about that bicycle that's in your way?
I would leap over it and knock the people aside, and not any obstacles stand in my way.
Exactly. It's what bicycle at this point? You have a goal that you're not going to let anything get in your way. Now, here's what happens when you turn that scenario around, as Stephen mentioned. Now you take that young child and you turn that young child into a car. And now at the top of the hill, instead of it being a car coming down, it's a shopping cart. And now you see the shopping cart coming down, and you still have all these people in front of you. So now your entire intentions shift. Your perception has just shifted. So what you're going to say is, as you see that shopping cart coming down, is you'll probably have a little bit of a deer in the headlights look and just say, this is going to be interesting. But I think that's what happens sometimes with people with their project that they're working on. They don't have that serious focus where they put the blinders on like a horse in horse racing, and says that that's my target goal, and I don't care about the bicycle or the 5 people in front of me. There's nothing that's going to stop me from getting to my target goal. And if you start looking at that with the project that you're working on, it's pretty much the same thing. I think what happens is people get stuck in this syndrome of, I've got another great idea. And a great idea is probably the biggest poison that anybody could have when they're working on a project or trying to focus on something. What I tell my students and the people that I work with is to take your ideas and put them into a separate book and write down the idea, in a little paragraph, and then put that book back in the drawer. And when you're done with your current project, open up the idea book and find the ideas that you can work on, that you can immediately leverage quickly and bring to the marketplace, or whatever it is that you want to do to complete it. Now, Brad Fallon, a good friend of mine, talks about working on 4 different projects at the same time. Let's assume each project takes you 1 month to do, and you're working on all 4 of them at the same time. Well, simple math would tell you that it would take you 4 months to get these projects done. So what ends up happening is you work on one project 1 week, the next project the next week, the next project the following week, and you're moving each project along kind of like, pushing up all these little magnets up on a board. But what ends up happening is if you would have focused on one project and got it done in 1 month, you can have that project making money for you after 30 days. And then you can fully focus on the next project. And then after 30 days, your second project is making money. So now you have 2 incomes coming in. And then after the second project is done, you work for 30 days on the next project, and you complete it because you were focused. And now you have 3 projects that are making you money. And then after that, you start the 4th project. And all while you're working on the 4th project, the other 3 projects are making you money. So now you're in a position where not only are you working on projects, but you're also completed projects that are making you money. The mistake that people do trying to work on all these projects at the same time is none of these projects are making money because they're all being spread out over 4 months. So it will take you 4 months to create one single dollar, but then that poison comes in again right before you're about to finish the project, and it says, oh, I have another great idea and another great idea. So you start getting to 90 and 95% on all these other projects, and then you start another project and move them up to 90 and 95%. No, project number 7 comes along with this great idea, and you never complete anything. And just one more thing, assuming you were just working on 4 projects at the same time, is that, as I said at the beginning of this conversation about this, that simple math would tell you that it would take 4 months to get these projects done. But what happens when you're multitasking and not focusing is you can multiply that factor by 2. It'll actually take you about 8 months to get 4 projects done because you're multitasking and you're not able to focus on one thing at a time.
Boy, that's so true, isn't it? Well, do you follow your hunches and intuition?
Yes, I do. Pretty much, like I just said, you got to be careful with your ideas, and that's where outsourcing comes in. If you can find people to manage your projects, you can put other ideas out there on the back burner and move them a little bit closer to the front burner if you understand how to outsource. There's a great expression that says money likes speed, and I agree with that. And if you do have when you do decide to take action on something, do it very quickly because money attracts speed, money likes speed. So when you work fast, you can get into this great zone where you can start bringing things to the market very quickly.
What is the specific philosophy or philosophies that guide your life and decisions?
Well, I believe in principles. Certainly there's a lot of things that I would like to do to be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a better marketer. And some of the specific things that I like to do is to let go and stop thinking or ever believe that I know everything. I'm a big believer in continued learning. And, again, Stephen Covey, another one of his 7 habits, habit number 7 says that you must continue to sharpen the saw. So even if you start to learn and you sharpen that saw, and it's the best saw in the world, what ends up happening is, months later, years later, that same saw that was built on great knowledge still becomes dull if you continue to use it every day. So you must continue to sharpen the saw. And I recommend that everybody be a student of learning and learn from the masters, the people that have blazed the trail before. And sometimes, and in most cases, you have to pay for that information. But you'll find that anything that you pay for when you're learning from the best will come back to you tenfold.
Mike, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
Goodness, ethics, and moral behavior. Again, those are life principles, and those aren't things in my opinion that one person can say, well, that's your view on ethics. There is there's a difference between right and wrong. And if you're even questioning it, then in some cases it probably can be wrong. We know deep down in our heart what the right things to do are and what the wrong things to do are. And I believe that in anything that you do, it will attract the same thing to you. So if you live an ethical life, you will find yourself surrounded by ethical people, and you will have an ethical business, and you will have ethical customers working with you and everything like that. Because anything that you try to kid yourself with, or anything that you try to resist, is going to push back at you the same way. So if you're working and you're doing things unethically, it will come back to bite you. It's just a terrible way to have a mindset to think that you could take advantage of people. You really need to just cleanse your soul and know the right things to do and live your life in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, what place does the power of prayer have in your life?
Ralph, this is something that I'll talk from the heart, and I want to say this in a way not to to offend any person or any faith or any religion. So I will say it in some generic terms. I believe in a higher place and a higher person. I do have a God in my life, and I have a very good relationship with him. In terms of, quote, religion, would I say I'm a religious person? No. And again, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'll speak my heart here for a second. I think that sometimes people get confused between the difference of the words faith and religion. And I believe everybody should have faith, and I believe that sometimes religion, what is religion? Religion means doing things religiously. And religion, sometimes those rules that were given to us were given to us by man, not by what we believe our God is, or the book that was written by God. So I believe in faith and having a relationship with God. And as I said before, when you know what's right, you know what's wrong, and you know what God wants from you. So I think you need to walk that life as close to the way they wanted it as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Well, what principles are you willing to sacrifice your life for? I know a lot of people are willing to give their lives for freedom, or run into a burning house, or save the life of a little girl as a car rolls down the hill. What principles are you willing to sacrifice your life for?
It's if you truly believe in your heart that the soul goes on. Our time on this earth is so minuscule it can't even be measured when you're talking in terms of eternity. Mm-hmm. So I think that we have a purpose here on earth to do what's right, and to live a life in the way that God would want us to. So what that means is any time that you're faced with a situation, and deep down sometimes it's very subconscious, you don't even know what to do, your subconscious takes over and you just do what's right. So I believe that anybody listening on this call would go into a house and save a child if they knew that there was a life in there, a precious life that needed to be changed, whether it was a stranger or their own daughter. I believe that bravery is inherent in all of us, and I love to see those types of stories where you see average, ordinary, everyday people do great things, and that is something that I think is unique to the human spirit, and I think it's blessed to see those things.
Well, I do too. Are your goals consistent with your beliefs?
Yes, they are. I think they go hand in hand. And again, I think when we talk about the terms of power of positive thinkings, you're talking about your beliefs and your goals. So when you set your goals, you need to believe that you can achieve them. And and then talking abstract about all the different beliefs in your life and your faith and things like that. I think that everything needs to be congruent in order to have symmetry in your life and achieve exactly what you want out of life.
Are your actions consistent with your beliefs?
These are all great questions, and I would like to say yes, but I'm not perfect, and I try to be. I know my faults, and I try to work on them, and I try to be humble. So I would like to say, Ralph, that yes, I like to make my actions as close to my beliefs as we can. But we know everybody has sometimes lazy tendencies. Like some of the things I struggle with are living normal hours as most people in the world would see. I tend to go on these weird patterns where I'm working normal hours, and the next thing you know, I'll start working till 2, 3, 4 in the morning and get up at 11 o'clock, and the next day I'll work till 4 in the morning, and then I get up at 12, and the next day I work till 4:30 in the morning, and then I end up sleeping till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I have to hit that reset button and say, wait a second, I can't even get up and get to the bank on time and get my hair cut, So I think those are some of the faults I have, and so to answer the questions, my actions are not 100% where my beliefs are, but I try working on them.
No, that's good. Everybody is, I think, in the same boat.
Yeah.
Well, is it valuable to have highly charged emotions about achieving your goals?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And those are exercises that you can do. Recently saw a great movie. I think it's really a documentary. I recommend everybody watch it. I'm sure some of the past speakers might have mentioned it, and some of the future ones will as well. You can see it at thesecret.tv, and that talks about, again, the power of positive thinking. But you need to be a visionary. You need to envision these goals that you set. So certain things you can do is you can have a cork board that you call a vision board, and you can cut out the home that you want. You can cut out what you appear yourself looking professional in a suit, or the watch that you want, or the car that you want, or the family type of icon that you want, and a picture of your church to remind you where you want to be associated with, and group photos of the people that you love and your family and your friends. And if you can start to put these exercises into place, then that's how you can start setting up exercises to attain your goals. I think one of the mistakes that people do when they make a goal, Ralph, is they say things like, "Well, I want $1 million." No, you don't. You really don't, Ralph. If I gave you $1 million, what does that do? That is just a means to getting what you really want. What you really want is to help children, or what you really want is to have better health, or better raise your kids the right way, or send your kids to the right schools. So setting a goal on money is okay. I know a lot of people do that, but you really need to realize that the money is just a means to what you really want. And you have to really ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And I even caution people sometimes when they set abstract goals, like I want $1 million, or I want this business, or I want my business to do this type of business per day or per month, because sometimes you have to say to yourself, well, what will I have created if I say I want an eBay business that makes me $1 million a month? Well, do you really want to be packing boxes and shipping everything out of your house? So sometimes by really defining what it is that you want, I think you can have a more clear understanding of how to get there, rather than just putting up an abstract "I want $1 million" type of thing.
Well, is it useful to take a positive view of setbacks, misfortunes, and mistakes?
Oh yeah, to answer that directly, I think we all need to learn from our mistakes. But what I was talking about before about being a student of higher learning, I would prefer to learn from other people's successes than learn from my own mistakes. But we all have to know that being an entrepreneur means that we're going to have more failures than we do successes. So we need to be able to understand that when we have a failure, that other people will welcome that. The negative people are going to welcome that and tell you, you see that? Oh, you tried to join that thing and it didn't work. Well, you're still stuck here in blue-collarville. And, the true entrepreneurial spirit will not allow those negative people to affect us, and will understand that we made mistakes. What did we do wrong? Let's look at the success principles and look at what we did and find out where we went off the track, and then get back on the horse and try it again.
Mm-hmm. Was optimism valuable?
Yeah, it's all in that circle, Ralph, of positive thinking. If you're pessimistic, you will achieve pessimistic results. If you're optimist, you will achieve optimum results. So all going back to that power of positive thinking. The energy that you put out there comes back to you in the same way. The entire universe is built on energy, and the reasons why you're sick or you're healthy are based on energy. So when you put out positive energy, and what that is optimism. When you put out positive energy, it will come back to you in positive ways. And if you're pessimistic, that glass is half full. And I know entrepreneurs, I know you, we believe that the glass is half full, and a lot of people believe that the glass is half empty. And when they start thinking half empty, well, sooner or later the glass will be completely empty.
Boy, that's so true. Well, do you maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems?
Oh, absolutely. Probably too much, but I believe that Ralph. When I was in the car business, I was the joker. I knew when it was time to be serious. But even at the most serious points, if I was getting mad or if we had a meeting or anything like that, I would always throw in a tidbit of humor. I think it keeps us real. I think it bonds people with you. I think it's one of the best qualities that you can have is having a good sense of humor, a good wit, being able to laugh at yourself, and but still knowing, when business is business, how to put business together. I think it's important to create a work environment where people have fun, and there's no place they'd rather be than be working with the group of people that they're with. And if there's not humor around in there, then I think the workplace will suffer.
Well, that's true. Well, do you invest time in daydreaming about your life and what it will be like when you attain your goals?
Yes, I do. I tend to night dream or daydream at night before I go to bed, and I'm sure you've had that, Ralph. And people listening, they're racing in their mind, and they get to bed at 11:30, and then all of a sudden, they look up and the clock says 10 to 1, and then they say, wow, I got to get to bed. And then you're like, wow, if I can get this site up tomorrow and get this interview up, and then next thing you know, you look over and it's like it's 2:30, and you're like, I can't shut my mind off, but that's healthy. That means that you're thinking in the right terms, and again, whatever the mind can achieve, it can achieve. And that's why, Ralph, it's so important that people don't daydream on the negative things. They don't go to bed and say, oh my goodness, I didn't do my taxes yet, and my car payment is 60 days behind. Well, you're attracting that negative energy. If your car payment is 60 days behind and that's all you're thinking of, you're thinking in the wrong terms. You need to attract the things that say, how can I want to think in terms of gaining financial success. And when you think in terms like that, you will attract those things, and the car payment issues will go away. So yeah, I do tend to daydream quite often about my business. But again, just always trying to think in terms of positive ways. And sometimes the negative things, they work into your thoughts, and there's nothing you can do. You can't shift on positive things, so just don't think of them at all. Just start thinking of, clown feet or something like that. Yeah. But just, if you can't think of anything positive at that time, then just, almost go into a state of denial and just, block it out, because it's not going to do anything to dwell on it, on the negative.
Well, do you feel it's important to make positive statements about yourself, the type of person you are, and your goals?
Yeah, those are affirmations, and you not only need to just say the affirmations, but you need to envision the affirmations. And it's like I said before, that it's been proven, it's a fact, that when your mind, your imagination, when you think in terms of the past, and you look back into your memory banks, when you imagine things, your mind looks in the same exact place as it does from memory. So the mind cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. So all you have to do is imagine the results that you want, and you will suddenly start to live that life. I know I'm saying that same thing, but I believe so strong in those things that we're talking about right now.
Well, do you take time out of your day to feed your subconscious positive thoughts about you, your goals, and your dreams?
That's something I believe I should do, and I believe everybody should do, but I can't tell you that I do that. I think it's become more subconscious that once you start living a life of positive thinking, I think you're just on autopilot and thinking positively all the time. However, I do believe that meditation is good, and I think that you should have some type of time where you're doing meditation, whether you're doing it with subconscious learning programs, or any type of hypnotic programs, or subliminal programs, or anything like that. I think those things are great to supercharge the mind. I don't actually do it, Ralph. I do research into it, and that's one of the things you said before. Do I actively do everything I know that's right? No, I don't. But that doesn't mean that they're not right. So I don't do it as much as I'd like to.
Well, it takes a lot of courage to pursue new ideas. You have your peer group and you have your family telling you that you can't do stuff. Do you have the courage to pursue new ideas?
Oh yeah, the easiest way to get your family to get behind you is to prove them wrong in the first place. When they start telling you, enough already, you have a job already, and that's where the food comes from, or why don't you go out and get a real job, and instead of chasing these Mickey Mouse dreams and blah, 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 and I'm sick and tired of hearing these names that you keep talking about. That's negative energy, and you have to put your force field up and do what the entrepreneurial spirit inside you knows you can do. And then all of a sudden when that check comes in, for $34,000 or whatever, you see how very quickly they say, your friends or the people in your life, oh wow, that's great. How can I do something like that? Or can I have that to go buy something? So you just have to do what you know is right, and they'll come around when they see the success, or they'll get out of your life. What you need to do sometimes, Ralph, you need to fire your negative friends. You need to fire the negative people that are in your life. And if you're married to a negative person, you got to understand that you can't change people. You cannot change people, and I would never endorse anybody fire the negative people, in their life, when they're their kids and their spouse. But all you can do is be who you can be the best you can be, and what will happen is hopefully they will see the type of person that you are and want to be more like you. But you can't change somebody and keep trying to change people from who they are. They can only change themselves, and sometimes they do that when you stop batting heads with them. You just have to sometimes say, this is the life I want to live, and either they're going to come along with me or they won't. But you can't forcefully try to change them. So if we're talking about everything we spoke about on this call, about honor and ethics and faith and knowing what's right and believing what's right, well, sometimes we get into a position where, we did get involved with the wrong person at the beginning. That doesn't mean that it's over. That means that they have the opportunity where they have to realize that you're the right thing in their life, and they have to walk towards you. Sometimes you can't force them, to do that. So, so.
That's awesome advice. It's taken me a lifetime to learn that. I wish I would have learned it when I was younger. That's why the Heroes program is so important. Well, were you willing to experience the discomfort in the pursuit of your dream? Just like you said, it's very discomforting to stretch yourself to the limits and pursue your dreams.
Oh, absolutely, Ralph. Absolutely. As we were saying before, you need to fire your negative friends, and the expression is that our income is the average of our 5 closest friends. You find anybody out there, whether they're making $300,000 a year or $30,000 a year or $15,000 a year, I will venture to say that their income is the average of their 4 closest friends. Themselves, they make 5. So to look at the 2 people above them and the 2 people below them, they will probably make more than the 2 people and less than 2 people, and they're the average of those 2. So I think it's important that you understand that if you want to give yourself a raise, you need to associate yourself with a better quality of people that think in the way that you think. And if you can, just repeat that question there, Ralph, because I wanted to tie that in, but I kind of lost my train of thought there.
It's the idea of experience discomfort in the pursuit of your dreams. I know I was talking to Tom just the other day, and he was talking about it's like increasing the size of your muscles to be successful, your muscles to be empathetic, where you have to stretch your abilities to the point of breaking, and it's uncomfortable to do that. Do you feel that that's important, that you have to go through that discomfort, that if you're not experiencing discomfort in your life, you're not really pursuing your dreams to your ultimate ability, and you're not going through the things that are going to make you successful?
Absolutely, and again, that's the frame that you define yourself or align yourself with, and what in my opinion, I don't think that somebody should just quit their job today, even though their job is creating pain in their life. You can't just quit your job and say, well, I'm going to go out and be an entrepreneur. Well, that's good if you have $50,000 in the bank, but if you have nothing in the bank, then you have to morph into the next thing. You have to work at your current job and leverage that income and leverage the time where you're not working there into building the new business that you want so that you can walk away. And, when I was, as an example, when I was in the car business, I was making good money. I was making $150,000 plus per year. But it was killing me. But I knew I had to stay there. in order to build the business that I wanted to, the foundation of my business that I wanted to online. And it was difficult to run both. It was very, very difficult to run both. And then when the time is right, it will come. So it came to the point, where I was talking with the owner, and we just decided one day it's time for me to move on. And I took the leap. It was the scariest thing that I've ever had to do, Ralph. I actually cried when I stepped outside of the dealership. I was in tears, and my other salespeople came up to me and said to me, hey, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And, I said, I can't believe he just gave me an ultimatum and said either you work for me or you work for yourself. So I took the choice, and I stuck my hand out, and I said, thanks, it's been a great 5 years. And the other people were saying, how could you do that? How could you walk away from this job making $150,000 per year? And I was so emotionally upset that I was one of the best managers in the auto group, and that he would actually be so upset that I was trying to better my life in a non-conflicting way that he made me choose, that I got so emotional I couldn't talk to the guys. I started to cry. I was saying, like, I don't care. But one of the reasons why I was crying was the chains just let go. There was an emotional charge, so they saw the tears as as upsetment. But more than anything, it was that anger and that happy emotion that came out. It was a happy anger of breaking free of the chains. And I was saying, not in such polite words, so I'll tone them down, but it was, screw that. He doesn't understand what he just did for me. He doesn't understand that he gave me a choice that I didn't have the strength to ask him myself. This is a celebration. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then I had to get home and tell the family, that I no longer have, a Toyota 4Runner demo, and I no longer have medical benefits, and I no longer have an income, and all these things. But it was, to me, it was liberation, and because of that, Ralph, I was able to go from $150,000 a year to making $850,000 last year, and so far this year made over $3 million so far this year. So sometimes you have to be able to be willing to break your wrist and cut your wrist and almost shave off the skin off your arms while you're pulling your hands out of those things that bind you.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think it's beneficial to make decisions that quickly?
Yes, absolutely, Ralph. As you can see, you'll be talking to a lot of people, and we all quote famous people and successful people, and especially things like Napoleon Hill. But Napoleon Hill teaches that one of the habits that he noticed of all the successful people that he interviewed was successful people are decisive in nature. Successful people make decisions very quickly, and they change them slowly. And unsuccessful people make decisions very slowly, and they change them very quickly. Okay, and what that means is, and I saw that in the car business, if I ask you what color is a blue shirt, you tell me blue, because you know it to be true. Sometimes we know the right answer, but we were brought up to say, never make a decision right away. Always sleep on it. Always think about it. That is a bunch of nonsense. And you got to look at the people that taught us that. They were people that lived that structured life where they made $472.63 a week. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that are teaching our kids today. Mm-hmm. Well, I want the kids listening today to know that when they know something is right, make the decision and stick with it and make it through and focus on that decision that you made because you knew it was right. And if it turns out to be the wrong decision, well, then we go back and we talk about what did we learn from our mistakes. But I will venture to say that 19 times out of 20, your gut instinct is right when you know the right decision. The mistake that people make is they say, I'm going to sleep on it. Well, come on, hey, here it is. You give me $5, I'll give you 10 tomorrow. Well, let me think about that. And the next thing you know, you end up saying, yeah, I remember when Snapple came out, my friends bought it, but I decided not to buy it. Or I remember when Google came out and I was going to buy the stocks, but I didn't, because they knew it was right, but they didn't act on it. And they said, I want to sleep on it. I want to think about it. And what ends up happening is as soon as they do make a decision, they say, well, you know what, everybody bought Google. Look at that. I waited a year and a half. You know what, I'm going to buy Google now. And then they buy Google for whatever, $110 a share. And then tomorrow it goes to $109 a share. Remember, unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. So it took them a year and a half to make this decision, and all of a sudden they say, oh, wow, I just lost $1. Let me pull my money out of the marketplace. And the next thing you know, as they pull their money out of the marketplace, it goes up to $115, and they lost the opportunity when they had the right decision to begin with. So that's an example that I can give you. But to answer the question in a nutshell, when you see a decision, should you act quickly, the answer is unequivocally yes.
So then you think it's a good idea to be slow to revise or reverse an important decision?
That's correct. Yeah, I think that if you believe something is right in your heart, don't listen to everybody. Take everybody's advice. Take everybody's advice into consideration, and you can definitely. You see, Ralph, that's a good question. What we're doing is we're on a ship and we're going to the new world, and we don't know exactly where it is, but we know it's there. So, we have our captains and our other people that are helping us, telling us, hey, our calculations show the wind is blowing this way, so we need to shift our direction, 2 degrees. So that doesn't mean you have to stand firm with your feet dead in cement once you've made your decision. You want to stay along the same path and make small changes along the path that you believe was right. But don't just do a complete 180 because, at that point you're going to get lost in the ocean and just sink.
Boy, that's so true. Well, one of the things that everybody always battles against, and it seems to be on a daily basis, is overcoming doubts and fears. How are you able to overcome your doubts and fears?
Well, they tell you whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So you have to confront your fears, and that's easier said than done, Ralph. I have things that I struggle with in my life. I have the fears that there are things that I need to take care of, that I work on. But it all comes down to knowing what's right, and if you know what's right and you have faith, you need to just confront your fears, and you cannot let anything control you, and especially you cannot let a fear control you. If you can confront the fears and ask yourself, what is the worst that's going to happen? I want to take that 16-year-old girl, if you're a 16-year-old boy, and you want to take her out to the prom, and you say to yourself, you remember what we said before about being decisive in nature? Well, if you take too long to act on that, you're gonna do it for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and you're finally going to build up the courage to do it. And as you're doing that, because we said you can't delay in these things, as you're doing that, you can almost imagine what I'm going to say. The other kid is going to walk up and ask her, hey, would you like to go to the prom with me next month? And she's going to say yes, and then just like in the movie, she's going to look over and see you 3 lockers down and say, boy, I wish he would have asked me first. So, so if you have a fear, to ask a girl or whatever the case is, to go to the prom, you have to just ask yourself, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? She'll say no. And is that really the worst thing in the world? Hey, big deal. Brush yourself off and say her loss, But guess what's really going to happen? She'll say yes. Yeah. So you just have to, take action on the fear that you have, and as long as you know the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, it's better just to make a decision and go with it.
Well, living our lives, there's always people that upset, offend, and oppose us. How important is it to be ready and willing and able to forgive those who upset, offend, and oppose you?
I am so forgiving, Ralph, to a fault. I think that's the Scorpio nature in me. I was born October 26th. I almost go into everything that I do with the expectation that I'm going to do everything I can right, and I hope this person does too. But if they don't, then so be it. I try not to hold a grudge. I'll kick and scream sometimes, say, "Oh man, I can't believe this guy did this to me." But you got to get over it. If you're gonna dwell on the negative things and in the past, well, think of what you could be doing if you're working on something positive and moving a project forward. Ralph, I've been burned so many times. I could basically tell you on a weekly basis how I get burned. But look where I am, in my life, because I let it go.
Yeah.
I say, okay, well, you know what? If that happened and that got shut down, or this got shut down, or this person did this and this person did that, and I don't mean it in a spiteful way. It's almost in a prayerful way. I hope in my heart that person changes their ways, so that they can be a better person. Because if they don't, they'll only have bad things happen to them, and I don't wish that upon them. There was a person recently that we didn't get along in butterfly marketing, and remember I said sometimes you have to fire your bad friends.
Yeah.
Well, this guy wasn't behaving, so I had to fire him. I had to fire him as a customer and refund him. And so he's now going around in forums, tongue-in-cheek and beating me up a little bit. So I'm not going to, play down to that game and or do anything. I simply sent him a very polite email and apologized that we got off on the wrong foot, and said, we can do better things in this world if we both put positive energy out there. So I said, I'll give you my word. I'll never say anything bad about you, regardless of what you continue to do to me. However, let's, maybe one day we'll meet, and let's not have any uncomfortable feelings when that happens. It's, I always believe if you don't have something nice to say about someone, it's easier just not to say anything than, and right there, do I have faults with that? I'm sure I do. I'm sure there's times where I'll have a cup of coffee or a drink with somebody, and a topic will come up, and I'll probably talk in ways that I shouldn't about somebody. But, publicly, you should never do anything like that. So, so, without a doubt, you have to be able to forgive people, and you have to be able to forgive yourself. You have to know when you've made faults. You have to be able to say, I'm sorry, and I apologize to people, and reach out to them before they reach out to you, if you believe that they may be upset. So, let it go, and just don't associate with those types of people. But you can definitely forgive them.
Yeah. Well, do you experience service to others as a source of joy?
Service to others as a source of joy, absolutely. Yeah, it's not about the money. Money is a byproduct of doing good things. So if you can create good products, good services, that's what life is all about, Ralph. It's about good products and good services. And what you're doing, in Search of Heroes, is a good service, and I definitely believe that by putting a good service out there, everything else that you want in life will come.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Well, Mike, you've been through a lot of highs and lows. When was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path to win a victory over the obstacles you were facing at that time?
Well, let's, I've been fortunate, Ralph, that I haven't had, knock wood, of course, and I will, any deaths in my immediate family. And my parents got divorced when I was in my mid-20s, so that didn't affect me the way it could maybe somebody that's 8 years old or something like that. And I lost my grandfather, and we knew each other, but we didn't know each other well. So, knock wood, again, there hasn't been any type of tragedy or anything like that. However, financial tragedy and stress back in 1998, I was in the car business, and I left the car business for 6 months to get involved with a real estate investor who turned out to be just nothing more than a con man that took me and about 6 other people in on this con. And I mean, it was the con driving the Mercedes, having the house that wasn't his, all these things that we believed were his. And his intentions were good. His intentions were to use our credit and our money to buy houses and repair them and flip them. But what ended up happening, remember what we were talking about earlier about taking on too many projects? Well, what ended up happening is he was trying to buy too many houses at a time, and while he was trying to put all this construction in, and he was collecting the mortgage payment, when his cash flow went negative, he started keeping the mortgage payments, the rent payments that we were collecting from the renters, and putting it in his own pocket. And several months later, we found out that the whole project went bankrupt. But being it was in our credit and our money, he lost nothing. And we had him arrested. We filed charges and put all that stuff behind us. But what it left me with in 1998 was it left me with $70,000 in debt, and 3 foreclosures and 2 repossessions, one for a Mercedes-Benz, one for a Ford Expedition, a repossession for a Harley-Davidson motorcycle I signed for him. All these things I had signed for him under the business name, and the credit card machine, the 3 foreclosures. Could you imagine what my credit looked like? So I had no choice at that time but to file bankruptcy because they were coming after everything I owned. So if you look at all of the successful people out there, Stephen Pierce, Mark Victor Hansen, Armin Morin, who is it that was in Texas that was living homeless? Tom, who was it that was living homeless? Joe Vitale. Yeah. It's one thing that you can be comfortable with in knowing is that, hey, the school of hard knocks, it happens to all of us. And stop with the self-pity. Yeah. Everybody's got their story. I heard recently that, everybody's going to tell you, well, my parents left me when I was 3 years old and I was put into an adoption. Okay, well, so what? Everybody's got a story. Stop holding on to it. Let that story be an inspiration for people when you've overcome it. So start thinking positive and stop dwelling on that. 85% of the people in the United States have grown up in a dysfunctional family. You're not alone. So stop thinking that you were given these bad things. I don't know. I think 9 out of 10 successful people that are multimillionaires in this world have gone through major tragedies or bankruptcy or financial tragedy. So So it's okay to let those things happen. You can't be embarrassed and say, "Oh, I don't want anybody to know that I went bankrupt." Hey, it happened. We made mistakes in our lives, and we have to learn from them and move on.
Well, was there anyone that helped give you the willpower to change your life for the better?
Yeah, my dad. His nickname for me when I was a kid was Top Shelf, and I wrote about that in Butterfly Marketing. My dad's my hero. He's my mentor. And my dad always used to talk to me in positive ways, and he brainwashed me a little bit. He never told me that I was better than anybody, but he told me I can be the best, and I can run with the best. And I never realized what a difference that made when somebody that you look up to in your life says negative things to you, and, maybe holds a beer can and is saying to you, you're nothing but a piece of garbage. You're going to turn out to be just like your grandfather on your mother's side, and blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And kids are impressionable. I watch some of these movies these days where it's you're a hero to run around with a gun and drive a Hummer and talk about popping caps and get rich or die trying and all these things, and these kids are impressionable today, and as much as those things may be entertainment, they're really poison to the youth of our society. Get rich or die trying is a terrible thing for people to look up to, and these young kids actually look up at these stars and say, I want to be like this person. And the messages in those movies are horrible because those people end up having success at the end of the movie. So it tells you that you need to be a thug or die trying, and man, it just bothers me. There's so many better heroes out there to learn from.
Boy, that is so true. Well, how important was it for you to believe your financial dreams would eventually become reality?
Well, you set your goals, and Ralph, I have to be honest with you. I've been setting goals all my life, and never achieving them, but it always led me in the right direction. So, I set a goal years ago that I wanted to be a millionaire. And sometimes, you say to yourself, that's a great thing, that's a great carrot to go for. But what ends up happening is when you actually get there, you have to reevaluate, and you got to set new goals, and you have to start, thinking bigger. And I think that's when you start thinking more philanthropic. And you want to start thinking of how you can affect lives and have people achieve what the success and dreams that they want out of life. And of course, I can still make money doing that. There's nothing wrong with charging money for mentoring programs, because if you believe that what you're doing, people can spend $5,000 a year, and it can bring them from making $5,000 a month to $100,000 a month, well, then, they'll pay you 10 times, what it is. Sometimes you have to pay for information. That's what I said before. You have to be a student of learning.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that, that we're doing right now. But I believe in higher learning. So when you ask that question about positive thinking and writing down goals and achieving goals, I think it all boils down to that, having that positive attitude.
Mm-hmm. Well, why is it valuable to know exactly how much money you want to have in your bank account and when?
You need to have specific goals, because the more abstract something is, the harder it is to envision it. So, there are people that have taken a $100 bill and they've written 3 zeros at the end of it, and they've taped it to their roof of their bed. So every day they woke up, they would see that they wanted to make $100,000 per year. And there were people that take their bank account statements and they white it out, and then they type in the number that they want to see in their bank account. And what it is, it's just envisioning what they want, and by doing that, you manifest it, and it will come. It can come true, and I believe it will come true if you start living the life that needs to be lived in order to achieve those things. You can't just say I want to make $1 million and then continue to work at the Entenmann's Bakery and not do anything about it. But I will tell you that when you start focusing on those positive things, you will attract those opportunities into your life, and when you're decisive in nature, you'll take action on those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is your definition of heroism?
A hero to me is a mentor, a person that has unconditional love for the people that they're working with. I don't see heroes necessarily in terms of Babe Ruth. Those are icons, and those are, you can, I don't want to tell people to change the way that we talk in this country. You can have sports heroes, but I think the true heroes need to be the fathers and the uncles and the teachers. Those are the heroes of this world, and people like you, what you're doing with young kids. I think that a hero has to do with some type of adult figure working with a young child.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. A lot of people that have difficult childhoods, they create a secret hero in their mind. Did you create a secret hero in your mind that helped you deal with life's difficulties?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a Man fan. I don't know if he necessarily helped me deal with any difficulties, but I used to put the towel on my back and run around the house in my underoos, and fly around. And I had my little Superman expressions and stuff like that. It was good to have those fantasies. But I think the real heroes I had was my dad, and he would come home late. He was in the car business. He'd get home at 11 o'clock at night and sometimes wake me up, and I would sit there at the kitchen table as he'd be putting cheese and jelly on saltine crackers. And we would just talk, and any problems I had, I would talk to him about.
Mm-hmm. Well, what were the qualities of Superman that you really liked, and the qualities of your dad that really helped you when you were growing up?
Well, I guess what I always liked about Superman was he was the most powerful superhero out there. Yet, what was great about it was he had his Achilles heel. He had, there was kryptonite. So, as powerful as he was, there was always a way to take him down. And he was able to overcome it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
with my dad, it was, he was just, he's just my dad, so I had that unconditional love back for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, he's still around today, and we talk all the time, and we have an incredible friendship.
Mm-hmm. Well, that had to be a pretty neat experience for you to have your dad at the big seminar just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, my dad was born in 1938, so he's 68 years old now. And, he's retired, so he loves to come out to the events, and he's there like every other student in the audience. He's taking notes, and, he criticizes my presentations and says, great job here, you could have done better here. And, he reviews my blog and finds typos, and, so, now he keeps himself busy as he polices my website for me and tells me, "Oh, Mike, at replytomike.com, there's a guy that hasn't gotten his package yet. You might want to address that." So, so he's engulfed in the business now.
Are there any other heroes in your life at this point in time?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other heroes in your life at this time?
Yeah, the marketers that I have great respect for, and I almost don't want to name them because I'll probably forget some. But I guess if I have to, some of my good friends and heroes, certainly my good friend Tom Beal, Paulie Sable, Donna Fox, and Stephen Pierce, and Armin Morin. Frank Kern was an early hero of mine, and Brad Fallon is a very good friend of mine. And if anybody is hearing this, I could probably list another 50, but those are some very good friends and heroes. Judd Smith is a very good friend of mine. Young man coming up, I really like what he's doing. He's got a great heart. Sterling Valentine, I think, will be a good hero for a lot of young kids for years to come. So those are just some to name a few. And as I said, there's probably another 50 I could name.
Well, there are probably some of the 50 that I either have interviewed or will be interviewing in the near future.
Yeah.
Well, how important is it to have trusted friends or a mastermind group to bounce your ideas off?
It's extremely important. In the terms of the Napoleon Hill mastermind, I don't know that it's that easy to structure a mastermind that well, but the closest you can get to that, the better. So I think, as we said before, your income is the average of your 4 closest friends. So if you want to give yourself a raise, you have to start associating yourself with people at higher levels that you want to be like. And that's what happens with the mastermind. When you don't want to associate yourself with a mastermind of losers, because then you will become a loser to the 10th degree. And if you associate yourself with winners in a mastermind, and that's really not the scope of this call to talk about what a mastermind really is, but just so that any young kid listening, if I could explain the power of the mastermind is a result of what happens when 2 or more people get together. You see, Ralph, I can have a very good idea. That's one idea. You can have a very good idea. That's one idea. So together we have 2 ideas. But when you and I get together and we talk about that idea, we can say, well, you know what we should add? And you say, hey, how about if we do this? And now we're working together. And what results in that is the 3rd idea. So 2 people can now achieve a 3rd better idea than the 2 that we had by ourselves. So that's the power of the mastermind. It's a result of what happens when 2 or more people get together. Now, when you get 8 or 10 people together in a mastermind, that exponential formula that I just gave you is that formula. The results become exponential.
Who do you feel the real heroes in our society today that are not getting the recognition and rewards that they deserve?
The teachers and the pastors and the kids, that are working with the youths and the YMCA's and the big brother programs and things like that. Those are the real heroes out there today. One thing I really want to talk about are the people that are serving this country overseas. They're so young. Some of them don't even realize maybe how important they are, or even what the cause that they're really fighting for. But they're real heroes, and as a mastermind unit together, they build up and defend the strongest country in the world and give us the freedom that we might take for granted.
Well, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
We need people to look up to. It's a part of the human spirit is knowing that we can't do it alone, and having a negative person in our lives can be detrimental. So having a hero allows us to block out everything and want to work with that hero, because the hero believes that we can achieve our best. The hero sees us with crystal clear glasses. They can see the future. They don't judge us. They love us, and and they see the best part of us, and where a lot of other people don't. So they bring out the things in us that we don't even see yet. So it's very important for a young kid to have a hero to work with, because that hero sometimes is all they've got, and they can bring the world out for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
Well, the first thing the parent needs to do is lead a life by example. You can't be a hypocrite and tell your kids you shouldn't smoke weed when you indeed smoke weed. Kids are smarter than parents give them credit for, and even if they don't consciously see it, subconsciously they pick up on things. So a parent needs to live their life by example, and then they need to let their kid know how much they love them, and they need to share that and express that and let that kid know that they're the best thing that's ever been put on this earth. And then when the kid starts to understand that, they need to instill the properties in these kids of the laws of reciprocity, to know that when you have what you want, or as you're going through that point in your life, trying to achieve what you want, you have to always make sure you help other people get what you want. So as you're always a student looking up to your hero, there's always somebody else looking up to you as the hero. So you have to have the dual role of the student and the hero. So when people look up to you as a hero, you have to be there for them.
How do people become heroes?
Just living a good life. People will look up to you when you do things right. That's a simple answer for a complicated question. But how to become a hero is simply just living the life that you know is right, and people will look up to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, how does it feel to be recognized as an internet hero?
Oh, I'm honored. I'm honored, and it's something that's difficult to put into words. I'm honored to be on this call, and as long as I know that I keep on doing what's right in my heart, I know I can be an example for others, and I can't let anybody down. And if I do let people down, it's because I've made a mistake, and then I would acknowledge it and apologize for it and move on. And you can't live the perfect life because you want to be the perfect life for other people. As long as you go out every day with good intentions, most of the time you'll end up doing the right things.
Well, why do you think you were selected for this unique honor?
I look good in photos. I think Ralph, that was because you and I had an opportunity to build a very good friendship over the last year and a half, and we've had an opportunity to see each other and both know that we want to do what's right in the world. And so I think everything we spoke about in this call about attracting negative energy and attracting positive energy, I think you and I both put out the positive energy signals, and I think it was just a matter of fate that we had an opportunity to meet and do this call today.
Yeah, boy, that's true. Well, how will being recognized as an internet hero change your life?
Well, it's as long as I realize that I can continue to help people, then my life gets changed as I see other people's lives get changed with any influence that I had about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, how are you making the world a better place?
Helping others, teaching people what I know, and teaching people how to take action, and I know that these butterfly effects that we're having with other people like Jason and Dennis and James and Keith, I know that these people are now becoming heroes to other people, and that butterfly effect is now becoming a ripple effect, and those people that they're helping will become heroes for other people, and it can go on for years and years and years to come, and that's leaving a legacy.
Do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
Yeah, say a statement that probably will shock a couple of people. Racism will probably be around for a long time. I don't see how you can have so many different people that grow up with different cultures, and unfortunately there's negative energy in this world, and those people are going to see differences in other people as fear, unfortunately. And I would hope that one day, as Martin Luther King, had his dream, that everybody can let go on the differences and understand that those differences can bring us closer together. So if we understand that there's racism in this world, just as we understand that there's hate, and there'll probably always be hate, and there'll probably always be love, and of course there'll always be love, as long as we know the right things to do, and if we focus too much on the racism, if we look at these leaders that are fighting for racism, and let's go back into the 1960s, and there were two major leaders out there, and it's Ralph, it gets very tough when you start talking about faith, religion, and politics and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to talk about the one leader that spoke about racism, but did it in terms of anger. I'll talk about the one that did it in terms of love, and that was Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
What he did is everything that we're talking about today is that if you have debt and you focus on how do I get out of debt, well, then you're just going to get more debt. If you have debt and you focus on how can I have more success, well, then you'll have success and you'll get out of debt. So it's the same thing that Martin Luther King realized, is that there was racism in this country. But don't go out there and focus on there's racism and this is what we need to do and we need to do this and we need to do that and they need to recognize us and no. Talk about the positive things. Talk about love and talk about getting together, and all those things will automatically go out.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question a little quicker there is just that not to dwell on the negative things. There's racism out there. There's a lot of bad things out there. All these kids out there are seeing it in their schools, and there's bad kids in every school. Some have it worse than others. But if you focus on the positive and align yourself with the positive students in the school, you can overcome it and focus on the good, and you'll have good in your life. Don't focus on solving the problems by looking at the problems. Focus on solving the problems by looking at the solutions.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's good advice. Are there 3 wishes for your life in the world that if they instantly come true, what would they be?
Well, if 3 wishes for my life,
you can't have any more wishes.
guess I just want to live a long, healthy life. I want it to be prosperous, and I want it to be, as I said, I want to leave a legacy. I want to help as many people along the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
I think it's we're blessed to have people like you in this world, Ralph, that get heroes together out there to work, to speak and help young kids out there. We need more things like that in the world, and I'm so glad to participate in a program like this. And I know that you've created some butterfly effects that will change people's lives, young kids' lives, and they'll look back and one day they'll do an interview with a successful radio show or television station, and they'll say, what was it that changed your life? And they'll say, it was this program called In Search of Heroes, and they'll talk about it. And I think you're leaving a legacy here, Ralph, and I want to commend you and applaud you for what you're doing for young kids. It's the most selfless act a human being can do, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you, Mike. And it's funny, too, my first heroine training, David Ganong, he just called me when I was at Lori Morgan for our copywriting conference last weekend late at night, and I didn't get his call until the next day. And I said, hey, David, how come you're calling me? And he says, well, I've got some bad news. And his dad dropped dead of a heart attack just the day before. And, being 26, I just remember when he was 13 years old in my first heroine training. And, I felt really blessed that he would give me a call and just share that with me and let me know how valuable the Heroes program was to him at that time in his life. So I'm just hoping after working on the project for 14 years that with the help of people like you and Tom and Donna and Polly and all my other heroes that we can actually make this great advice that you guys have given available to young people so they don't have to go through and make all the mistakes that we did in our lives.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
Well, again, I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you very much, Ralph. I appreciate it. And all the kids listening out there today, remember, whatever the mind can dream up, it can achieve. So you can conceive it, and I know that you guys will all have a good life, and you're very lucky to be working with Ralph and being part of this program. So thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.